Hey guys, welcome back to Rosa's Randoms, and this is going to be review and theories on chapters 31 through 36 of The Only One Left by Riley Sager. And these chapters are pretty short. They're kind of a whirlwind, so instead of putting demarcations of what chapters they are, we're pretty much just going to go through them. So right after Kit is caught having Lenora outside and she's with the typewriter, and we know Miss Baker was pissed, she takes that typewriter from Kit and she drops it over like this terrace. She just drops that typewriter and the typewriter just shatters, so there is no more typewriter and the papers go flying all over the place. So typewriter no more, right? And shortly after this, it's later on that night, after Kit has already put Lenora to bed, she witnesses Archie inside of Lenora's room, and she asks him like, hey, like, do you do this every night? And he's like, yeah, I actually go into her room and say goodnight to her every night. And so Kit is like, oh, so do you do this? Do you happen to do this like later on at night, like, you know, like in terms of like early in the morning? And he's like, no, I would never do that because like I need to get up early in order to start work. And so Kit is like, okay, well, that explains then the shadow that I saw in the window that night, and maybe, you know, certain sounds like moving, the shadow that I saw in the moonlight that night as well, but it doesn't explain the floor creaking that I heard early in the morning, which is when Archie says he would never be in Lenora's room. So there's still something to be figured out there. Now, my guess is it has to be either Miss Baker or maybe Jessie dressed up as Virginia, or someone else that's coming into Lenora's room at night to do something or talk to her or to scare her or sneak around and find something. Because it's not Lenora, at least I don't think it's Lenora. Because of what occurred earlier that day, Kit actually thinks that she's going to be fired. And you know, when she goes down into the kitchen and she sees Miss Baker is like, well, you probably think you're gonna be fired, but I'm not doing that, right? It's up to you whether you wanna leave or not. And Kit is like, what you mean? I would think you would wanna fire me. Like, she doesn't say that, but like she narrates it. Miss Baker is like, well, I already know what's been going on with you. Like, she knows Kit's backstory, what she was accused of with her mother, and Kit is like, of course you would know. Of course you would know. Of course Mr. Guerlain is gonna inform you of that, which I think rightfully so. If she's gonna be working somewhere, like, it makes sense that they know about her history before they accept to hire her somewhere. So I don't really necessarily think that it was like malicious intent. I mean, it could have been malicious intent on Mr. Guerlain's part, but also, like, even if it was, like, I think people should know that about her. But yeah, so like Miss Baker knows she ain't got nowhere else to go, and Kit is like, yeah, I have nowhere else to go. So Kit pretty much stays. So a little bit after this, Kit actually sneaks into Miss Baker's room because she wants to find out more about this woman. And when she goes into Miss Baker's room, she finds different things. She finds pictures of when Miss Baker was younger, of her like walking down the streets. It seems like when she, like in Europe or something, like there's pictures of her when she was younger. She also finds checks written out to a nursing home called Ocean View. And although these checks have been signed by Lenora, it's clearly been signed by like Miss Baker. Like, it's not Miss Lenora's handwriting, it's Miss Baker's handwriting. So Kit starts to wonder, like, why would Lenora / Miss Baker be sending out checks to someone who lives in Ocean View, and who is this person? So while she's doing this, Miss Baker starts to, you know, come into her room, and so Kit goes and she hides inside the closet. But as she's hiding in the closet, she feels the house start to shake. And then Miss Baker runs out and everybody runs out. And so Kit finds the opportunity. She's like, hey, I'm gonna run out too. And so what they find is that another chunk of the cliff that the house is sitting on has fallen off. And so when they all come back inside, they're all shaken up, and Kit finds Jesse packing up, and Kit's like, where are you going? And Jesse's like, I'm leaving. I'm not trying to die here. Which, like, girl, yeah, me too. I wouldn't stay there either. Before she goes though, she asks Jesse for her Ouija board thing that she was using to prank her at the beginning of the book. Because remember, Lenora cannot communicate anymore because she doesn't have a typewriter. So she's like, oh, I'm gonna use the Ouija board so that she can communicate through that by moving that little plank thing. I don't know what it's called, but yeah. Using the Ouija board, Kit asks Lenora who is staying at the nursing home, and Lenora lets Kit know that it's Bernice Mayhew, Ricardo Mayhew's wife. And so Kit's like, why are you using your money to pay for this woman to stay at a nursing home? My assumption is it has to do with something with the murders. Obviously, Bernice must know something. And we soon find out that this is the reason, and it's actually because Bernice had seen a lot of what went down. And so this payoff is to help out Bernice, but also so that she can keep her mouth shut. So pretty much after the murders, she was giving her money, and now the same money, I guess, is helping her pay for her nursing home and just helping her have money. So that's who the money is going to and why. Back to Lenora's letter, we find out Miss Baker did end up deciding to help Lenora hide her pregnancy. However, Lenora writes that making this deal with Miss Baker was like making a deal with the devil. And I can only assume that Miss Baker did something terrible to her, or maybe outed her, or something happened, because, and I could see it happening because Miss Baker doesn't seem all that trustworthy. She doesn't seem like all that much of a nice person. So I'm wondering what Miss Baker did. Kit goes to visit Bernice Mayhew under the guise of being a nurse who works for the insurance company. And when she goes to visit, Bernice doesn't really have much of a reaction to her. She's just pretty much like, who are you? And she's like, oh, I'm the new person caregiving for Lenora. And she asks Bernice these questions, and Bernice is like, oh, well, Ricardo was actually known for having a wandering eye, so she wasn't really surprised about him having an affair. Lenora had also revealed in her letter that Bernice had caught her heading to find Ricky. So apparently they both did know of each other, I'm guessing, or Bernice was maybe following her. So we know that Lenora knew of Bernice, and Bernice knew of Lenora, and Bernice suspected Lenora of having an affair with her husband. Bernice tells her that she was there the night of the murder, and that Ricky knew that she didn't really, or Ricardo knew that she didn't really go to the movies with her friends, that she actually stayed behind. So when she was walking to the house, she stumbled upon Lenora, whose gown was bloodied, and they actually heard screaming coming from upstairs, which Bernice assumed to be either Virginia or the mother screaming upstairs. But right as this happens, Lenora tells Bernice to hurry up and leave. But as Bernice is telling her story, Detective Vic then walks in, and he escorts Kit off of the premises because he's like, why are you bothering this old lady? Kit is like, you need to go in and talk to her because there's a lot of information that's been found out. And of course, Detective Vic is like, no, I don't care about that. Stop bothering this old lady. And then of course brings up her being guilty about killing her mother, or helping her mother kill herself. But he also does reveal that he did look over old files regarding the murder, and in the files it reveals that Lenora said that she didn't know who Ricardo was, which it's just like, Sure, it might be true, but also it could be true that like she was just lying. Like, just because somebody says something doesn't mean that that's true. You should know that as a detective. But anywho, we also learned that Virginia had not died immediately. She actually was in a coma for 6 months. So she had not died immediately. Kit also thinks back to something that was told to her, and she wonders that if Lenora had been guilty, why did she have blood on her gown prior to picking up the knife that she supposedly used to murder her family? That doesn't make sense. So Detective Vic is of course convinced that Mary did kill herself, and he shows Kit the letter, the suicide note, I guess, that was left in Mary's pocket that says, "I'm sorry, I'm not the person that I thought you were." And Kit realizes something, and then she jumps in her car and speeds off back to the mansion. So when she gets to the mansion, she goes to where the urns are holding like the ashes of the family members, including the mom, the dad, and Virginia. But when she looks inside both urns, she looks inside 2 urns, she sees the ashes of the dad, she sees the ashes of the mom. But when she looks inside the other urn, she does not see the ashes of Virginia. And something dawns on her. And she's like, oh, something Bernice also said to her was that Lenora had blue eyes, or the person had blue eyes. And I think this dawns on her, something is wrong here, because I'm guessing that Virginia does not have blue eyes. Where is this going? Somebody is pretending to be someone. So back to Lenora's letter, and the end of this section, she speaks about her plan to run away with Ricky that night, because she knew that the servants had their bi-weekly night off, and she didn't want anyone to notice that she was leaving. But as she's getting ready to go to leave, she sees her sister standing in the doorway, and she's like, "Where are you going?" And she tries to get her to not leave, but she doesn't oblige. And so her sister gets a key and locks her inside the door, much like what the game that they used to play with their father. And Lenora says she started pounding on the door, begging her sister to let her out. And as she's pounding on the door, she's screaming, "Lenora, please no. Lenora, please let me out." And that's when it's revealed that it is not Lenora that we have been seeing and speaking to this whole time. It is actually Virginia. So that is the end of this section, guys. If you like this video, comment down below what you think is going to happen next. This was a big reveal for me. Maybe I should have noticed it, because as I went back through the letters, she never spoke about her sister using her name. She only said "my sister." So that was, I think that was a clue. Also, and I'm sure there were other clues throughout the book that I just didn't notice. But yeah, what do y'all think? Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to this video for more. Bye.